Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H 2.0. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Welcome to the Queendom, H 2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought. Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon. Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
But so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head high, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the fire, through the perilous height, we're still standing. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air. We won't back down. They proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, wait for justice. For the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I'm back with another live. Coming to y'all today on President's Day. We have President's Day here. I know in the United States. I'm not sure if that's worldwide, but yeah, today is President's Day, and we got some things to talk about when it comes to a lot of the different presidents that we've seen here in the United States over the years. So we'll be wrapping some of our live around that. It is about 10:42 a.m. here, y'all, Eastern time in the Carolinas, the United States. And the weather is pretty nice outside. I hope you guys are having a great day in whatever respectful time zone you are in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I hope you're having a good Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. So, yeah, we got a few things we're going to get into, per usual, some political updates. And a lot of it is wrapped around presidential things. So I said, why not? Let's go ahead and cover it this way. So y'all, we gotta go ahead and it is a holiday that some people celebrate and acknowledge due to we have servicemen and women who really respect the country and democracy and all of those things. So some people really will be enjoying this holiday. It means something to them, okay? But we're going to go ahead and reflect on the true meaning of leadership, okay? We're breaking down the stark contrast between the dignity of Barack Obama and the current chaos surrounding Donald Trump. But we also have a few other things we'll get into as well. As far as Kristi Noem Saga, it's a new low with reports of private cabin scandals at the DHS, and will expose the health scam around Trump that he is pushing on the world. We'll also be getting into Marco Rubio. Now, he just abandoned our allies in Munich. Am I saying that right? Munich? We do have some of that information and reports and receipts to talk about today. But yeah, happy President's Day, everyone. Today is technically George Washington's birthday, but for decades, it's been the day we pause to honor the office of the presidency. It used to be a day defined by honor, sacrifice, and the standard of excellence set by some of the likes of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. But as we look at the state of the White House today, we have to ask, what does a good president actually look like? Compare the grace and the grit of Barack Obama, a man who respected the institution, to the current occupant right now, Donald Trump, who often treats it like a personal branding exercise. One led with hope and unity. The other seems to lead with division and alternative facts. Let's look at why we used to celebrate this day with such pride and how far the bar has fallen. Excuse me. So I do have a video, y'all, that I want to show y'all. It's a news report video from MS Now. And it's a conversation, a really good conversation, and an educational one as well, as to, how President Day started, why people used to celebrate it, take pride in it. And it used to be a big deal. But in current times, I don't think a lot of people even care anymore. But historically, there's reasons why we should still give some respect and honor to that day and the fallen presidents and the good presidents that there will be to come, because we have faith and hope that it won't always be like this, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this video real quick. And let's hear this great conversation about why do we celebrate President's Day.
After winning the war, Washington did what victorious leaders rarely did at the time. He voluntarily gave up power. Many would have gladly made George Washington the king of America. Yet all he wanted to do was return here to Mount Vernon and to be with his loving wife, Martha.
That was former President George W. Bush in 2007, marking President's Day with a visit to Mount Vernon, Virginia, the home of the country's first president, George Washington. Banks, post offices, government offices, public schools, and the stock market will all be closed in honor of President's Day, which is today. It's also the perfect excuse for us to talk more about why we celebrate this day in the first place with presidential historian and executive director of the George Washington Presidential Library, Lindsay Chervinsky. You know the Mount Vernon area where the president was speaking quite well. You've also given me great tours of it. It's beautiful. Everyone should go. But let's talk a little bit about the history of this day and why we celebrate it in the first place, because there's remembering presidents and then there's the larger shadow that they cast over this country, both now and when we look back at them, right? So talk to us about why this day matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the holiday actually started really early on when people were celebrating Washington's life while he was still alive. So it is a little bit odd. And when, I think he probably felt it was a little weird too. He attended a couple of birthday balls at Gadsby's Tavern just across the river in Alexandria. And there was certainly a sense that this was a remarkable person that deserved to be celebrated. But there were already questions in the 1790s about when do you celebrate the office and when do you celebrate the person? Celebrations for Washington continued. And after the Civil War, people started to ask, well, should we add a Lincoln to this list? Because he, of course, was a remarkable president. But the holiday that was created legally in 1885 for the nation is actually Washington's birthday. It's not about all of the presidents. We've just kind of lumped them in there. And that's largely actually an advertising ploy to get people to buy stuff for President's Day.
Right. Not that we need any excuse with a sale, but at the same time, when you talk about separating the office from the presidency, I mean, or rather the office from the person, it does feel like those things are so mushed right now in the public consciousness because of the way that Trump himself has sort of refashioned the presidency and the role of a president within it. I think that's a fascinating thing for us to reflect on as we head into a day like today. But then also the way that you and I have talked about this over the years. I mean, last year we were saying, rather you were, that this day is a little bit silly. I think it got taken way out of context. But as you reflect on it now, what do you see in the importance or not of celebrating President's Day?
Well, I think it's interesting the clip you started with, George W. Bush. He's at Mount Vernon. Obviously, we agree that everyone should go to Mount Vernon on President's Day.
Duh.
It is free today. So anyone who wants to come, please do come visit us. And that makes sense to me, to celebrate great presidents, to celebrate Washington, to celebrate Lincoln, celebrate Theodore Roosevelt and Dwight Eisenhower. Yeah. These men did amazing things, and those amazing things deserve to be remembered. But Millard Fillmore, John Tyler, James Buchanan, these are not the Washingtons and the Lincolns. And so I think today is a really great opportunity to think about, where has the presidency, where did it start? Where has it gone? How has it evolved? And where do we as citizens want it to go? Because it's the only office that represents all Americans. And therefore, we have a say in what we want it to be and how we want it to represent us.
You're also talking about some of the greatest people to get elected, and not all of them can be the greatest of the greatest, right? We have a certain few that occupy that space. And this is now coming on the 250th anniversary of our country. You and I talk a lot about the various parallels and things that are important as we reflect on that moment. Does that make this President's Day interesting, different, new to you?
Well, I think it's a good reminder of, how long we have been a nation. And in this moment, as we're thinking about those celebrations, as we're thinking about those anniversaries, they're not by accident. Yeah. They take generations after generations of commitment to upholding the republic, to upholding our institutions, and recommitting to this glorious experiment. And so I think the great men that we have celebrated are ones that were committed to that experiment. And it's maybe a charge to us to recommit ourselves today.
To commit ourselves really to the moral underpinnings and the great ideas that underpin this great country. Presidential historian and executive director of the George Washington Presidential Library, truly one of the best, Dr. Lindsay Chervinsky, thank you for coming on.
All right, y'all. So I thought that would be a good way to go ahead and kick off the live. We're not doing a total history lesson here today. We are just reporting on some political news. But since it is President's Day, I just figured we would listen to a little bit of that report. But we are going to go ahead and get into now our next topics for the live. So speaking of presidents, our next topic we'll get into is Trump losing it as Obama gets a standing ovation. So the contrast in temperament was on full display this week. While President Trump continues to struggle with low approval and internal leaks, former President Obama recently stepped onto the world stage and received a deafening, sustained standing ovation. Reports say Trump is absolutely losing it behind the scenes. He's reportedly been obsessing over the footage, even as he continues to push bizarre AI-fueled theories about his predecessor. It is the ultimate ego bruise, seeing the world crave the dignity of the past while he struggles to manage the chaos of the present. So let's go ahead and get into this next video, y'all. And this one is going to be coming from none other than Ben Marcellus over in the Midas Touch. And so let me go ahead and get this up on the screen for y'all. He's got all of the receipts and all of the evidence that Trump is definitely crashing out over this. But what a beautiful moment for the Obamas getting that standing ovation. And he's going to show us a bit of that too. So let me go ahead and get this up on the screen for y'all, and we'll get right into it. I will meet y'all in the chat per usual.
Donald Trump is absolutely losing it as the entire stadium in Inglewood, Los Angeles, erupted in a standing ovation for former President Obama. Donald Trump has completely lost the culture. Everybody's supporting former President Obama. This is what Donald Trump dreams of. Obama got the standing ovation. Donald, do you think you are going to distract from the Epstein files and the fact that you appear over 38,000 times by posting photographs of former President Obama and Michelle Obama's faces on apes? And you thought we would be, just distracted by that? The Obamas are unfazed. They've called you a clown. They're getting a standing ovation at the NBA All-Star game. Just watch them on the Jumbotron here. And here they are getting a standing ovation. Here, play this clip. Now let's play that standing ovation for another angle right here. Yeah, and this is what former President Obama posted for Valentine's Day. Celebrated Valentine's Day with my forever dance partner. Love you, Michelle. And here's what former First Lady Michelle Obama posted. My former teammates on and off the court. Let's see, what did Donald Trump post on Valentine's Day? Oh, he posted this attack on Bill Maher. It looks like a lunatic wrote it. I want to read it. He's like, Bill Maher came to me and said that he was going to like me, and he looked really nervous. But then Bill Barr ended up trashing me on TV. And then I said, dude, shut up. And then Donald Trump's like, and I said to Canada, you're going to lose ice hockey because China's going to steal your ice hockey. And I was clearly joking about it. Donald, just get in life, man. You're weird, you're deranged, you're unhinged, you're a racist, you're a felon, you're a sexual abuser, you're a fraud, you are a phony. And even MAGA sees right now that you're covering up a child sex trafficking ring. Your name appears more in the Epstein files than the name Harry in Harry Potter, more than Jesus or God appears in the freaking Bible. What else are we learning as well? Oh, more references to Donald Trump are being uncovered in the Epstein files. Like, how about this email? Have you seen this one? Sent June 8th, 2018. This is from Jeffrey Epstein to a guy named Andres Serrano, an artist. Here's what Epstein writes. One Madonna on the way. Instead of torture photo, maybe portrait of me instead. Presentation of Trumpville. Torture photos, presentation of Trumpville. How about this? From William Riley, a private investigator, to Epstein, April 18th, 2011. Before I call Trump, with regard Virginia, are there any alternatives? How about this email right here? Jeffrey Epstein to Jess Staley's daughter, former top banker at JP Morgan. Then he became the CEO of Barclays. And Epstein is speaking to Jess, and Staley resigned in disgrace from Barclays as his connections with Epstein were uncovered. And then this is Epstein writing to Jess Stolley's daughter. Could you ask you did if he would like to be considered for Treasury? He's saying, can you ask your dad if he would like to be considered as the next Treasury Secretary? Because Epstein was apparently involved with Bannon in picking Donald Trump's cabinet like Treasury Secretary. And then Stolley's daughter says, just spoke with him. He said, not yet, but thanks. That's how Donald Trump's cabinet was picked, by the way, with Epstein. Quick, we go back to Obama for a second, getting standing ovations. Let me share this with you. This was an interview that was just released between former President Obama and my friend Brian Tyler Cohen. And Obama, it talks about Donald Trump doing the ape photo posting by Donald Trump. And here's what Obama says, that he still sees a lot of hope. Play this clip.
First of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. But as I'm traveling around the country, as you're traveling around the country, you meet people. They still believe in decency, courtesy, kindness, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost. But the reason I point out that I don't think the majority of the American people approve of this is because ultimately the answer is going to come from the American people. And we just saw this in Minnesota, in Minneapolis.
And former President Obama posted this. Watching the NBA All-Star Game and Team USA at the Winter Olympics, it's clear that sports, just like music and art, still has the power to bring us together, build community, and remind us of our common humanity. Let's play this clip right here.
Hey guys, can you believe that Amazon made
sports can bring the world together, but right now we're in the middle of the Olympics. It's worth reminding us, we saw it in Paris, that when you watch the U.S. team and play in Paris, and the Serbian teams and the French teams, and you're reminded of what the Dream Team did to inspire all that, and you saw the French fans when Steph was hitting those threes, and they're mad, but they can't be too mad because it is such it's art, and it's joy, and it binds us together to see human excellence in that way. That's only sports and music and the arts can do that. To bind us together, to remind us of our common humanity. That's something we want to preserve and build on.
And there was this amazing moment where Anthony Edwards spoke candidly about what it means to play in front of President Obama. As this account says, can you imagine any athlete saying this about Trump from Democratic Wins Media? Here, play this clip right here.
I know you've met him before, but the President Obama was here. Yeah. The Obamas was here. Did that give you any extra motivation to play any harder tonight?
Yeah, for sure. You always got to put on the show for he my favorite person in the world. We was kicking it yesterday. Me and him, I had a great time yesterday. So I told him I was going to put on the show for him.
Well, Donald Trump was spending the weekend golfing. That's Donald Trump with Liz Truss, the former UK prime minister who sent the UK markets into tanked the markets. I see two losers right there. And speaking of two losers, three losers, four losers. Dr. Oz, we learned, invited. I think it's worth to note on Valentine's Day that Dr. Oz invited Epstein to a Valentine's Day party. So we got Lutnick going to bring children to the island. Oz inviting Epstein to Valentine's Day parties. Again, Trump's White House is the center of this entire cabal right here. And then, as you now know, and I reported over the weekend, Donald Trump released a fake Epstein list, right? You know this story, that the DOJ released what it said were the politically exposed persons list. And in order to muddy the waters, they like put Trump's name and people who are involved actually in a bad way with Epstein. But then they include names like Janis Joplin and Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe and like Dan Quayle. And they just put in a bunch of names like that in order to kind of obfuscate and just to make people not believe that the Epstein files and the lists are real. I mean, again, it's just such utterly despicable and horrible conduct by this regime. We also learned that Steve Bannon and Epstein were working behind the scenes with others in the Trump regime to bring down former Pope Francis, and they were finding ways to like blackmail and go after former Pope Francis. I mean, you don't get much more despicable than this. It's Donald Trump's post this weekend. He goes, "The Democrats refuse to vote for voter ID. The reason is simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. There will be voter ID for the midterms, whether approved by Congress or not." And then over the weekend, too, you had Kristi Noem talking about, oh, well, we're going after certain types of voters. We're going to go after these voters. Remember what Kristi Noem said? And here's how Tom Homan responded to it. Here, play this clip.
DHS Secretary Noem made some comments that Democratic leader Schumer just commented on earlier in the show. I want to play them for you.
It may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day, that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country.
So what does she mean when she says electing the right leaders? That's not really immigration enforcement or DHS responsibility.
I don't know. That'd be a question for the secretary. If I had to guess, probably that only those legally eligible to vote would vote. But I have not talked to the secretary about those statements. That'd be something she'd have to answer.
And just the more gaslighting from Trump's border czar Tom Homan this weekend. Here, let's play this clip.
When they say stop racial profiling, that's just not occurring. I mean, ICE will briefly detain and question somebody based on reasonable suspicion. It has nothing to do with racial profiling. As far as the mask, look, I don't like the masks either, but because threats against ICE officers, are up over 1,500%. Actual assaults and threats are up over 8,000%. These men and women have to protect themselves. As far as identifying themselves, they all have placards identifying themselves as ICE, ERO, HSI, DEA, FBI. So they all have placards on them. So I'll let the White House and members of Congress, fight that out. But I think some of the asks are just, I think they're unreasonable.
And I'll show you one more clip from this weekend. Let's play it.
Wasn't.
What's so wrong about obtaining a judicial warrant to enter private property?
That's not what the federal law requires. Congress themselves wrote the Immigration Nationality Act that gave power on administrative warrant to arrest somebody. And that's what's set up in federal statute. So if Congress wants that changed, then Congress can legislate. But right now, ICE is acting within the framework of federal statutes enacted by Congress and signed by the president.
Well, as I recall, you have previously said that you thought judicial warrants were necessary for searches. There's been this change in policy in that now ICE can go with these administrative warrants that are issued by ICE personnel. Why your change of heart? I mean, clearly at one point, at least, you agreed that was necessary.
No, I don't have a change of heart. What I understand, and I wasn't part of the discussion, is that DOJ interpret that law saying in certain circumstances, administrative warrant on somebody that has a final order removal already had a due process issued by a federal judge to enter premises. I'm not a part of that discussion, but that's the DOJ guidance.
Anyway, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. And thanks everybody for watching.
New Midas merch. Head to store.midastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support.
All right, y'all. So again, that was from Ben Masilis over on the Midas Touch. If y'all have not subscribed to his channel or become a member yet, you should really go over there and check them out. They got really good content. And I'm telling you, Ben don't play no games when it comes to this administration. He's going in on them. and he knows what he's talking about. He's a lawyer. He's been doing this his entire life. He knows the law. And these people here, I don't know. They've got these positions, you know, I guess because their hair looked nice or they had pretty eyes or something like that is what it's giving to me. But these positions they hold is very clear. They don't know what to do. Speaking on that, we're going to go ahead and take a song break. But after the song break, we got to get back into the Kristi Noem saga, right? Because she's another one that has a position where we ask ourselves, why is this woman here? She does not know what she is doing. And they don't try to be transparent. They lie right to our face, and a nasty word. So the next segment we'll be getting into, in the next video I'm going to show for y'all, is Kristi Noem's disastrous week and a very deep, humiliating report on all of the things that have been going on with her. So yeah, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem is having what can only be described as a train wreck of a week. A humiliating news report has surfaced detailing her abandonment of disaster victims while she guts FEMA from delaying search and rescue teams in Texas to her latest stunts in Arizona that even local Republicans are calling a dud. Noem is proving that she is more interested in being a TV personality than a cabinet secretary. And then we're also going to be getting into the private cabinet and scrutiny in DHS chaos. It gets much worse. New scrutiny is falling on the private cabinet and the close relationship between Noem and her top advisor, Corey Lewandowski, child be butchering some names. While DHS is in a state of absolute chaos, with 80% of ICE leadership being purged, the real focus seems to be on Noem and Lewandowski's living arrangement at the Coast Guard residence. Reports of staff being berated over blanket blunders and petty media rivalries suggest that the department tasked with keeping us safe is being run like a dysfunctional reality TV show. So we're going to get into that in just a minute, y'all. Let's go ahead and take this quick song break, and we will be right back.
Check the pulse of the nation, feel a tremor in the ground. Another hollow promise, another hateful sound. The burner phones are buzzing, the leak, DMs exposed. The country club whispers about the people in their robes. They smiling for the cameras, preaching unity and grace. We're drafting legislation to keep you in your place. The dog whistles the sirens, now the hoods are in the open. Igniting tiki torch shadows, leaving spirits broken. They want to turn the clock back to a time of guilt and pain, where progress is a dirty word and fear is how they reign. But every soul they try to crush, just learn to stand up straighter. This ain't a game of politics, this is gladiator.
Enough is enough. The whispers turn into the heat. Official getting shut up. Enough is enough. Where the people at the table filling up our cup. This ain't about a party. The lines are clearly drawn. It's the light against the darkness that's coming for the dawn. Holy versus evil is the truth against the lie. We ain't backing down. With a fire in the sky.
They coming for the libraries, wanna burn away the facts. Erase the bloody chapter so you can't see the tracks. They gerrymandering the district, drawing every map. Your vote is just an echo caught inside the power trap. They purging names from voter rolls and calling it secure, while scream about election fraud to keep their motives pure. They wanna legislate the scars upon a woman's soul, and own the very choices that were never theirs. Control from the classroom to the courthouse, a calculated scheme to suffocate the promise of the American dream. But they forgot the dream was dreamed by rebels and by slaves, and their spirit is the very ground that trembles in their graves.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. The people at the table filling up our cup. irony. They stand on podiums with a Bible in their hand, but don't know the first thing about the soul of this land. This is for the teacher hiding books up on the shelf, for the doctor taking notes to more than just himself. This is for the dreamer facing down an ice patrol, for every ancestor's prayer that paid a spirit's toll. Their power is an illusion, a fortress made of glass. Our strength is in the future, they are terrified to let pass this hurricane of justice, an earthquake of the soul. It's a holy fire raging, and it's out of their control. Enough is enough. No more. Standing too long now that you can't stand. Enough is enough. See the people at the table filling up our corner. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Honestly, how could a member of Donald Trump's cabinet possibly embarrass themselves more than Pam Bondi did at that hearing? But then, late last night, the Wall Street Journal hit send on what might just be the craziest story about a Trump cabinet member we have seen since he got back to the White House. And boy, is there a lot of competition for that. And here's the headline. A pilot fired over Kristi Noem's missing blanket and the constant chaos inside DHS. That's a real headline in the Wall Street Journal. And yes, the headline is wild, of course, but does not even begin to do this story justice. And I'm going to get into all of the insane details in just a moment. But even before we all saw that story, Kristi Noem's Department of Homeland Security was having, well, you could call it a hell of a week. I mean, this week we saw mass chaos and confusion after officials shut down airspace over El Paso because Border Patrol agents fired a laser they borrowed from the Department of Defense at what turned out to be a Valentine's Day balloon. And they were planning to shut down the airspace for about 10 days, by the way, over that. Now, we have seen 2 ISIS agents put on leave after they appear to have lied about an officer-involved shooting in Minneapolis, lies that may well have been parroted by DHS in their official account of that shooting. We've also seen the release of horrifying body cam footage from the Border Patrol agents who shot Chicago school teacher Mariamar Martinez, footage that, surprise, surprise, you can see it right there, also contradicts the official account about how that shooting took place. We've seen a Trump-appointed federal judge excoriate DHS over their treatment of immigrants in a Minneapolis ICE detention center. We've learned that DHS improperly obtained the private tax data of thousands of American taxpayers while hunting for undocumented immigrants. We've learned that a 21-year-old with a proclivity for posting white nationalist-themed content has apparently been running DHS's social media accounts. We've learned that DHS is being sued by a racetrack in Idaho, which alleges that parents and children were zip-tied at gunpoint during an immigration raid. And we're now watching Congress barrel toward a partial government shutdown at midnight tonight over DHS's refusal to change its tactics in the wake of its cruel and out of control Minneapolis operation. All of that, everything I just showed you and I just walked through is just from this week. And all of that came before we got this blockbuster, deeply sourced new reporting from the Wall Street Journal about the chaos inside Kristi Noem's DHS. Now, some of what is reported in this story are things viewers of this show already know, but bear repeating. Like the fact that Noem, quote, has donned flak jackets on ICE raids, posed toting a large gun and recorded messages urging immigrants to self-deport, stood before a group of imprisoned men with shaved heads packed into tight rows in a notorious El Salvadorian prison. And she's done it all with an eye to her style, of course, with TV-ready hair and makeup, as one does, I suppose, when you're standing there as she is in front of a prison in El Salvador. Now, there are also some things in this article we didn't know, but have long suspected, like about Noem's unusually close relationship with DHS advisor and former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski. The Wall Street Journal reports, quote, Lewandowski and Noem, who are both married, have publicly denied the reports of an affair, but people said they do little to hide their relationship inside the department. Now, what struck me about this as well, as you read the story, is this is not a single source story. There are a lot of sources in this story. A lot of people talked to the Journal for this story. Anyway, that aside, officials say their relationship has even made the highly immoral Donald Trump uncomfortable. That's obviously not a serious way to describe Donald Trump, but he's uncomfortable by it, is the point. A DHS spokesman responded to the Wall Street Journal saying the department doesn't waste time with salacious, baseless gossip, which doesn't sound like a no, that it didn't happen to me or that it's not going on, I guess, to me, but who knows? So that alone is pretty newsworthy and it kind of makes your skin crawl kind of way. But what really makes this news story such a bombshell piece of reporting is some of the truly wild things we are just learning for the very first time. For instance, during one official trip, people familiar with the incident say, quote, Noem had to switch planes after a maintenance issue was discovered, but her blanket wasn't moved to the second plane. Corey Lewandowski then fired a U.S. Coast Guard pilot after Noem's blanket was left behind. Okay, the story continues. It gets even better. The Coast Guard pilot was told to take a commercial flight home when they reached their destination, but they eventually reinstated the pilot because no one else was available to fly them home. What a story. Now, surprise, surprise, a DHS spokeswoman declined to address that particular episode when asked about it by the Journal. But let's just pause and put a finer point on that. Kristi Noem and her, let's just call him companion, Corey Lewandowski, tried to fire a Coast Guard pilot just because the Secretary of Homeland Security left her blankie on the plane. Keep in mind, this is the same Homeland Security Secretary overseeing packed ICE detention centers, like the one you see on your screen right there, where detainees are sleeping like sardines under aluminum foil blankets, according to lawmakers, where children are kept. But Kristi Noem apparently can't make it one flight without something to keep her feet warm during the in-flight movie. Poor Kristi Noem. Then there's the incredible saga over Corey Lewandowski's attempt to play policeman. This may be one of my favorite details. As far as we know, these two incidents are unrelated. Who knows? But according to the Wall Street Journal, Lewandowski made it known to top ICE officials that he wanted to be issued a law enforcement badge and a federally issued gun, despite the fact, of course, that he was not a law enforcement official and he has not undergone any law enforcement training that we know whatsoever. Now, Lewandowski tried asking the ICE's legal center to write him a justification for being issued a badge and a gun. And when a top ICE lawyer declined to sign off on the whole thing, I wonder why, he was placed on administrative leave. Lewandowski then eventually persuaded other lawyers to sign off on his gun-toting ambitions, feeling like a big man, Corey Lewandowski, I guess. And this is my favorite part. The ICE director's auto pen was used to sign off on the paperwork. Now, of course, DHS denies that all of this happened and claimed that the ICE lawyer was put on administrative leave for other reasons. Okay. But MS Now has confirmed a large part of that story tonight, also reporting that the ICE lawyer was actually escorted from the building after refusing to sign off on Lewandowski's request for a gun, according to two current and former officials. The whole incident is especially wild when you consider that this is the same department that even claimed carrying a gun lawfully was enough to justify killing Alex Preddy. Remember that detail? And this story is about more than just Kristi and Corey's childish behavior and their companionship. It's also about their reckless spending on the taxpayer's dime. Because the Journal matched earlier reporting from ProPublica, which found that Kristi Noem spent over $200 million of taxpayer money on ads that featured her telling immigrants to leave the country. Money that ProPublica reports was funneled to an ad firm tied to Kristi Noem. It's like they think people won't notice here. People notice. Now, the Wall Street Journal also reports that Noem and Lewandowski have been using a luxury 737 MAX jet with a private cabin in the back for their travel, a plane that DHS is in the process of acquiring for approximately $70 million. You can just keep adding all of this up on a little notebook if you would like. The plane is paid for with money from the big ugly bill, and it's supposed to be used for high-profile deportations. But charter planes are primarily being used for deportation. So this private plane has become kind of more of a job perk for Noem. Her staff have even taken to calling it the big, beautiful jet as she jets around in it herself in her various costumes. Maybe they're on the plane, who knows? A DHS spokeswoman told the Journal that the plane was used for both deportations and cabinet level travel. But I would just note here that no detail on what exactly that breakdown is has been provided. It's not just the apparent grift that makes this story so eye-popping, although it does make it eye-popping. It's also about Noem's wild mismanagement of the agency she runs. Noem has forced all DHS contracts over $100,000 to require her personal sign-off, supposedly to rein in spending. But the policy has actually done the opposite. According to the Journal, one contract for bulk steel sat on her desk for so long, by the time she actually approved it, the price of steel had gone up by more than $100 million. But maybe the most illuminating part of the entire report is really what it tells us about how much Kristi Noem sees herself as being in competition with other Trump officials. Because according to the Journal, Noem routinely berated staff if she saw border czar Tom Homan on TV and kept track of both of their appearances to make sure she was on TV more than he was on TV. What a good way to spend your time. That explains a lot about Kristi Noem, though, doesn't it? I mean, it explains why, now that she appears to be drowning in a sea of scandal that seems never ending, she's still trying to put herself in the limelight. I mean, just today she held a press conference in Arizona where she decided to try really, really hard to take up the mantle on one of Donald Trump's favorite issues, election conspiracies. Now, it's very clear that someone is trying to build up her profile while worming her way back into Trump's good graces, but it's also clear that it is working the way it was intended. The thing is, Kristi Noem is she's really, really bad at her job. It's very clear. And it's becoming hard to ignore, even over at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. In one very telling part of the Wall Street Journal's reporting, Corey Lewandowski messaged Trump's pollster with a request. He wanted them to cut an ad to help Noem, the pollster, the pollster ignored the ask, basically. So while Corey Lewandowski thought this would be a launching pad for 2028, the question really is, will she even have her job through 2026? I'm kind of doubtful, but you never know.
Well. More information just keeps coming out. But I got a follow-up for y'all because we're going to dig into a little bit deeper about this private cabin and this scrutiny around Kristi Noem and Lewandowski's close relationship. So let's go ahead and get into this. We have another report with a little bit more detail just on that. And that'll be pretty interesting for us to watch and hear. So give me just a sec. I'm going to get that put up. But yeah, this is the Kristi Noem saga, child. You can't make this stuff up, and it's almost hard to believe that this is what we're experiencing in the country right now. These type of individuals are running things or attempting to run things, but everything is really being ran right into the ground, in my personal opinion. But let's get into this.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem has been very busy this week getting in front of microphones trying to save her job. Yesterday, she was in Southern California to trumpet the department's good work as its funding is about to lapse. But the event was drowned out by a throng of protesters outside blasting whistles and bullhorn sirens.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, everybody. I think you're asking about detention facilities and the standards in it. Are you talking about our funding bill? I heard you ask about Operation Metro Surge and CBP and ICE, and what was the 287G?
A little hard to make it out, but that did not stop her. Today, Noem held a press conference in Phoenix claiming that DHS is now an election police force.
Although the Constitution gives states the primary responsibility for running their elections, Congress also gives authorities and duties to the federal government. Now, as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, those authorities lie within my department, and the responsibility lies with me.
Somehow, the constitutional republic managed to stand for more than 200 years without a Department of Homeland Security to oversee elections.
We are out front in
I got to say, right now, Kristi Noem is, and believe me, it's crowded, frontrunner for the worst, most incompetent and inhumane cabinet member of my lifetime. She's trying harder than ever to project strength because she's unpopular, and this is important, even within the Trump administration. The latest evidence of that comes from one of the most devastating pieces of political reporting I can remember. A new investigation into the bizarre behavior of Noem and her unofficial number two, Trump confidant and accused sexual harasser, Corey Lewandowski. According to this incredible piece in the Wall Street Journal, who spoke with multiple administration officials, Noem and Lewandowski are causing chaos in DHS, berating senior staff, giving polygraph tests to employees they do not trust, demanding expensive perks, like extremely expensive perks, and in one case, firing a U.S. Coast Guard pilot after Noem's blanket was left behind on a plane, according to people familiar with the incident. The piece also deals with Lewandowski and Noem's close relationship, noting how, quote, after photos in the Daily Mail showed Lewandowski going back and forth between his apartment and Noem's across the street last year, the secretary moved into a government-owned waterfront house on a military base in Washington. The pair, who are both married to other people, have publicly denied the reports of an affair, but people said they do little to hide their relationship inside the department. The DHS spokeswoman said the department doesn't waste time with salacious, baseless gossip. The Journal noted also that Lewandowski and Noem have lately been using a luxury 737 MAX jet with a private cabin in back for their travel around the country, according to people familiar with the matter. A $70 million plane that, in official documents, is earmarked for high-profile deportations, sources told the paper. At the same time, the story relates how even red states like Florida and Georgia have been waiting on funding from DHS for emergencies they've had, because Noem and Lewandowski have reportedly taken a lead role in reviewing contracts. At one point, I think all contracts over $100,000 had to cross her desk, and several officials inside the department said contracts and grants are being awarded in an opaque and arbitrary manner. And it appeared Noem was keeping tabs on how much TV time she got. Journal says she routinely berated staff if she saw border czar Tom Homan on TV and kept track of both of their appearances to make sure she was on TV more than him, according to people familiar with the matter. The DHS spokeswoman, who would only speak on background, said that was false. And then there was the blanket incident, in which Noem had to switch planes after a maintenance issue was discovered, but her blanket wasn't moved to the second plane, according to people familiar with the incident. The Journal writes, the Coast Guard pilot was initially fired and told to take a commercial flight home when they reached their destination. They eventually reinstated the pilot because no one else was available to fly them home. Imagine how quiet that flight home was. Then, in an incident last year that rankled some senior staff of the agency, Lewandowski, who is not a regular government employee at all, he's not a law enforcement officer, made it known to top ICE officials that he wanted to be issued a law enforcement badge and a federally issued gun, according to people familiar with his push. MS Now has independently confirmed that story. A top ICE lawyer declined to sign off on giving Lewandowski a gun, and days later, he was placed on administrative leave. He was later demoted and moved to FEMA, the people said. Lewandowski never got that gun. But the Journal says he has been spotted by DHS staff sporting a badge emblazoned with the words Homeland Security. These are not the acts of ordered minds. And it is all happening as DHS is on the verge of an agency funding shutdown tonight, because there is a very real debate over whether to further fund a massive and growing police force of armed masked agents that have been marauding American cities and streets, disappearing people, killing people on camera, and then lying about it. They are also planning a nationwide expansion of detention camps, as we are getting more evidence day by day by day of absolutely inhumane conditions at the camps ICE already has. The latest evidence comes from Seamus Culleton, an Irish national who has a legal work permit and is married to an American, but who has been held in an El Paso detention center for 5 months. He called into an Irish radio show to describe the conditions there.
The best way I could describe it is probably like a modern day concentration camp. I've been locked in the same room now for 4.5 months. I've had barely any outside time, no fresh air, no sunshine. I'm in fear for my life down here, honestly, because people have been killed by the staff here, by the security staff, and you just don't know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis.
A modern day concentration camp. That's the characterization of an individual who's been in that camp for 5 months, barely able to go outside. So think about that. The department that runs that facility, the one that killed 2 Americans in front of all our eyes and then proceeded to slander them gleefully. The one that just shot a space laser at a bunch of Mylar Valentine's balloons and endangered civilian aircraft and claimed it shot down a cartel drone. The one that's run by a self-absorbed politician and her special friend with a special badge. That is the department that wants continued funding from Congress. Now, let's be clear. Democrats don't have a majority in either house. They do not have a ton of leverage here. They may not be able to sustain the cessation of this funding, a shutdown of the agency, for very long. They got to keep, almost all their members. They can't allow for 8 defections. And even in a shutdown, DHS is sitting on this enormous amount of money from Trump's terrible big bill. But here's one idea. I'm just going to throw it out there. It is possible for Democrats to say, along with the demands they have for changes to the behavior of DHS officials, that there's not another cent for a DHS run by Kristi Noem. Absolutely not. She's already unpopular in this administration. You can sort of see that in the reporting. Would removing her and Corey Lewandowski magically solve all the problems? No, absolutely not at all. No way. Would it be a victory politically and morally to actually force one of the worst Trump 2.0 cabinet members to resign in disgrace? Absolutely yes.
All right, y'all couldn't have said it better myself, y'all. This is what I be asking myself. And I think a lot of us get very frustrated about as we watch these things play out. I've been reporting on a lot of this, and I know a lot of y'all keep up with it too. But we're just asking ourselves, when is enough enough? Like, when do we get these people up out of here? There has to be something that can be done to get these people up out of here. I mean, it's too easy to fire people. Fire them, period. That's it. Fire them, replace them, get them up out of here. These people have got to go. But because of the corruption within the government and, all of these things, we understand why they're protected. They're a protected group, protected class. There's people that's holding on and hanging on to them because they're doing their bidding and, all of that type of corrupt stuff. We know it's so much corruption. But it's really starting to get annoying because the more we just sit here and just allow these people to wreak havoc all over the government, that's messing up lives and stability for the American people, but not even just American people, even globally now. And we'll be getting into some of that towards the end of the live as how this is affecting geopolitics, meaning our connections and our relationships with other countries that are vastly important. And all of this has been disrupted. So, I just feel like, come on, at what point is enough enough? How many more things do we have to hear and see that these people are doing so unprofessionally? People got to ask themselves, if you on your job, your workplace, wherever it is you work, whatever it is you do, to do things that are this illegal, to do things that are this unprofessional on your workplace, you're out the door. You're out of a job. You're fired immediately. You're done. How is it these people that are the ultimate level of unprofessionalism, they are corrupt, they are deranged, all of these type of things, and allegedly that's in my opinion, they get to stay in a position and nothing happens. Nothing. Like no charges is filed. If you work at McDonald's and you steal a bag of chicken nuggets and take it home because you may need some food to feed your family, you're going to jail. They're going to arrest you, charge you, and take you to jail. And that's just for stealing a bag of chicken nuggets from a fast food restaurant. Look what these people are doing within our government. Look at the type of crimes they're committing. And you mean to tell me that these people don't deserve to go to jail, be fired, be hemmed up in any kind of way, and get the heck up out of here? It's just allowed to happen. This is a disgrace. It's a disgrace, and it's embarrassing. It's the most embarrassing thing that I've ever seen, to just sit here and watch this stuff play out day after day after day after day. Serious moves need to be made. Serious moves need to be made, because this has got to stop. The people are being affected by this. This has got to stop. It definitely is political corruption. Political corruption. And it's got to end. Like, this is ridiculousness. It really is. It's almost becoming exhausting. Because I'm like, okay, we're going to wake up one day and we're going to see, all right, this person's been fired, this person's been arrested, this person's going to jail, this person's been charged. Even when they attempt to do those things, sometimes it don't even stick. So it's just like, what are we doing here in this government, in this country? I have no idea anymore. I don't. There is no structure. There is no sense in any of these things that are happening. I absolutely don't get it. I really don't. But anyway, y'all. All right, we're going to be getting into the next topic. Now, we already know Trump has been hiding his health conditions. So there is the health scam that has finally been exposed. We have heard the claims of perfect health for years, but the latest health scam has finally been put out for everyone to see. From dictating his own medical notes to his fringe battery theory of human energy, the truth is coming out. Critics and medical professionals are sounding the alarm on his mental acuity and physical fitness, especially as the administration refuses to release basic updated medical records. The sane washing of his behavior seems like it's going to be officially over. And how ironic, because isn't the same type of attacks and things that he used to say about Biden? Karma will always come back around to get you. But anyway, y'all, we got to take a quick song break, and after this song, we'll get into that video. Be right back.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let it ring out loud. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea, like the mighty waters. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. We remember it all. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Hope is alive, yeah. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on. Let's keep marching till victory is won. Stony the road we trod. Bitter the casting rock. But we're still here. Hey.
its new website known as Trump RX, designed to make prescription drugs cheaper.
Dozens of the most commonly used prescription drugs will be available at dramatic discounts for all consumers.
Long sigh, long sigh. So
Long sigh.
long sigh, right? Millions of Americans ration their medications because they simply can't afford them. Now, the Trump administration says it has a fix, a new website called Trump RX. But is this real relief or is it just a rebrand? I'm Dr. Ida Brown.
And I am Dr. Sonia Sloan.
And we are AYA,
Black and Brown Women Disruptors in Healthcare and Beyond. So Trump described this new initiative as the most transformative efforts in healthcare ever, right? Positioning his platform as a step towards improving drug affordability and transparency for consumers without insurance or if you are a cash payer. But with the launch of the Trump RX website, some experts say it's more of a flash, not necessarily function. So Trump administration has pitched this whole historic step, right? Lowering prescription drug costs for Americans that are already struggling under the soaring medication prices. So as someone in medicine, Dr. Brown and myself, and someone that understands the downstream effect of the sticker shock for real patients. So we're going to sort of peel this back, peel it back, PILL versus P. You get what I'm going anyway. So the rhetoric of the Trump RX website and what it actually means. So first, the Trump RX dispense medications, no drugs. It doesn't do pharmacy benefit management, and it doesn't replace insurance. So it's a federal price comparison and access portal. That's it. It connects the user to the medications, offering through participating manufacturers or pharmacy networks, which means if you've got insurance, you're already getting probably a lower price with most of these medications. But through the plan that Trump RX is suggesting, the insurers and pharmacy benefit managers are negotiating deeply how to get these numbers down. So let's be honest, the platform most likely affects just cash pay patients or uninsured, which usually either you're cash pay, then what's the point? Or if you're uninsured, you probably still can't afford it, right? So that's very, very important. The second point is the coverage is very limited. Trump launched this Trump RX website with 43 drugs, you guys, only 43. So some of those drugs were already widely available at lower costs through traditional pharmacies or discount programs like GoodRx or Cost Plus drugs. Like example, Protonix, it's a reflux medication for ulcers and whatnot. Under the basic cost, $10, low-cost outlets, most of them. Under Trump's RX listing at $200. What? That's not a savings. That's confusion plus overpayment. So then thirdly, the site has no, let's just say the transparency is under scrutiny right now. Many of the prices are touted on the portal don't reflect the total cost. There's hidden pharmacy markups, also insurance copays. So some discounts you're better off just off-site alternatives that patients could already get to anyway before the Trump RX. So according to Guardian, though, health economics basically say that the site is just complicating things that are already complex. The drug pricing system in America needs to be simplified. They're just making it worse. So doctors know this. We need not another landing page. We need real systemic reform on how the United States negotiates the prices, how rebates and insurance formularies work, and how to hold pharmaceutical companies and marketing accountable. Let's roll this next clip.
The website does not sell medications directly. Instead, it offers pharmacy coupons like this or discounts through the manufacturer. The president saying consumers can expect big savings on medications used to treat diabetes, heart disease, and obesity.
You're not going to believe what happened. Tell me everything. I'll show you on Monday.com. So I started the biggest initiative of the quarter. I did everything right.
Cheaper, Dr. Brown.
Cheaper, right? Mm-hmm. So, and the experts agree. A health economics and policy professor, as well as the former dean of pharmacy, Sean Sullivan, who's at the University of Washington, he said it plainly. Trump RX is not a solution. for high drug prices in the United States. Because here's what a website cannot fix. It can't fix insurance gaps. And those gaps have been widening, and they've been accelerated by the expired ACA subsidies and subsequent administration rollbacks on healthcare access. So let's talk about the two categories the White House is spotlighting. One is weight loss drugs, and the second is fertility medications. And that's because those numbers definitely deserve a closer look. So first, on your GLP-1s, Wegovy is now listed on Trump RX at $149 a month. Now that's great, right? It's down from $1,349. That's very dramatic, sounds incredibly dramatic. But here's what they're not telling you. That price has already been dropping. It was voluntarily reduced to $499 back in March 2025. And then in November, it went to $199. And that's all through negotiations with the federal government. And this is all before Trump RX. So the website's taking credit for a trend that already was in motion. And most insurance plans still won't cover GLP-1s adequately. And so for these patients that need the most, they're really still out of reach. All right, so now the second one, fertility medications on Trump RX. Gonal is decreased by 83%, Cetrotide by 93%, and Avidril by 67%. So those are great reductions. And, you know, Dr. Oz said at the podium, the Dr. Oz, he was talking about IVF access for families that can't conceive. And, you know, I really think that we should all ask ourselves why fertility is suddenly front and center. Reproductive rights have been stripped. Abortion access is gone. And now Trump RX wants to take credit for making it easier to conceive. It's polyfactorial, right? So I'm just saying the audacity is clinical because drug costs are only one part of why fertility treatment and fertility care is so expensive. It costs tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket. And so discounting one medication doesn't necessarily make IVF accessible, right? That's like discounting anesthesia and calling surgery affordable. It's still expensive. So one more thing. Doesn't this model already exist? Guess what? It does. So pharmacist Christina Madison told ABC News that Trump RX looks nearly identical. Want me to say it again? Nearly identical to existing drug programs like GoodRx. And you've seen those little GoodRx cards all over the place, right? GoodRx confirmed that it is the integration partner. So GoodRx is hosting the self-pay prices and linking them directly to Trump RX. So GoodRx is already accepted at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. And what we really have is this repackaged system with the presidential signature on the label. Let's roll the next clip.
But notably, a lot of these drugs are older, and there are generic alternatives for these medications. The pharmaceutical companies that are participating were not looking to give discounts on their bestsellers, their newest drugs. So in many cases, these are drugs where there might have already been discounts available. And if you go on the website and look, there is a warning even. If you have insurance, you might be able to get a discount that is better than what is available through Trump RX.
I love the language. He said there's a warning. You know, it wasn't like just information, as a warning. So as they've launched this TrumpRx.gov, the federal drug pricing website, the U.S. government listed again 5 pharmaceutical manufacturers who jumped at the bit. It's right off the top. So you have number 1 is AstraZeneca. Number 2 is Eli Lilly. Number 3 is EDM Cerno, prior known as Merck, the KGA unit, Novo Nordisk, and Pfizer. So, however, Trump's website with these 43 drugs, more than half of those were already available in generic form at a significantly lower cost. So what does that mean? Prescription drugs in the United States are not controlled by one person, not by one agency, and definitely not by one website. It's a layered system, if you will. So you have Congress, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Centers of Health, Medicare and Medicaid Services, the FDA, private insurers, pharmacy benefit managers, as well as pharmaceutical manufacturers. It is huge. So the single executive branded platform itself as a mechanism for altering drug pricing is a farce, and it raises a lot of structural questions. Number one, what statutory authority is supporting this? Number two, is it operating under existing federal law, or are they skirting the traditional legislative process, likely? Or the other question is, who's overseeing this whole thing, right? So under the Constitution, Congress writes the law regarding commerce and regulating the commerce including pharmaceutical sales. The executive branch just enforces the laws, right? So someone's overstepping their bounds. So major drug pricing reforms, including Medicare's negotiation authority under the Inflation Regulation or Reduction Act, required congressional legislation. So the issue here isn't just pricing. It's a balance of power. And we already know that with this administration. If they want the administration to have direct to public platform for reshaping pricing authority without a clear legislative backing, that shifts the practical power towards the executive branch. Sounds familiar, right? With everything else that's going on in the United States. That doesn't automatically make it unlawful, don't get me wrong, but it does raise the question of separation of powers. The concern should be overwhelming to all of us. The system was designed so that no single branch controls economic regulation. Now, let's consider this from the pharmaceutical standpoint, right? Their industry, drug manufacturers have historically resisted direct government negotiation beyond Medicare's defined authority. And I'm sure that's because they were making money, right? But this argument is consistent with the government price setting because what we should be concerned about, it reduces research and development investment. It reduces the innovation that develops and depends on profit margins, and also the price caps that are now may likely be more limited and unavailable. So industry groups like pharma have previously challenged the expanded federal negotiation in courts. And so that platform that centralizes executive influence over price sends three strong signals to manufacturers. One, expand federal leverage. Two, increase public pressure. And then three, reduce price autonomy. And that's where the real debate really begins, Dr. Brown.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app.
Right. Markets don't just react to policy. They react to the perception of policy change. And as a surgeon who served as a service chief in a major New York City safety net hospital, we were serving historically underserved communities with chronically limited resources. I know what it means when the system performs reform instead of doing it. Listen, a website is not a scalpel. You can brand a portal. You cannot brand structural change. Real reform, the right tools, a clear plan, statutory authority, enforcement mechanisms, negotiation contracts, regulatory rulemaking, and that's the anatomy of actual change. But when policy gets personalized, branded to a person rather than anchored in law, we, the people, we trade institutional continuity for personality-driven governance. Healthcare systems don't heal well from instability. So what should you actually look for? Is Congress formally informed? Are CMS and HHS issuing regulatory guidance? Are pharma companies lawyering up? Those signals tell you whether this is an operational change or just political theater, because in medicine, just as in policy, execution matters more than your headlines. And when it comes to what is this actually means for the patient in front of you, Dr. Sloan, can you just get clinical and break it down for our audience?
Yeah, let's take it home. Let's bring it here. When a small group of cash paying patients, are they going to be seeing the savings that Trump RX is offering? Possibly. Will this fundamentally eliminate the high drug costs in America, especially for those with insurance? No, by no means. Even The Guardian has cited this. Does it replace the need for robust policies such as broad drug price negotiation, mechanisms that are embedded in law and insurance reform? Absolutely not. That is not what this is. So in plain clinical terms, making the medication cheaper does not make the treatment accessible. So when insurance design and catastrophic care costs still will leave families in financial jeopardy, we have to ask why Trump RX is now launching. Dr. Brown?
You know, listen, as a surgeon, right, I trained at one of the best orthopedic hospitals in the world, right? And one thing that got drilled into every single one of us, and actually probably every single trainee in the country, is that precision matters. Measure twice, cut once.
Yep.
You can ask any surgeon anywhere. That phrase is always said in the OR, and it never really leaves the OR. Because in surgery, imprecision has consequences. And it's the same with policy. Trump RX is not precision. There was no measuring here, guys. This was a cut that was made for cameras. And, you know, to have the audacity to name a federal health initiative Trump RX, are we sure this isn't going to go to the way of Trump Steaks or Trump University or the Trump modeling management? I mean, because the pattern's familiar. Big launch, bold branding, and then what happens? Where do they go? And who suffers? Our patients. They deserve real, durable, structurally sound policy. Not a portal, not a press release, not a legacy play. And we said what we said.
Exactly.
Take us home.
This is like when it looks like a duck and quack like a duck. I'm just saying. Healthcare is affordability isn't a website, you guys. Real change means structural fixes, not portals that are repackaging discounts that already exist. So stay informed. We want you to ask the structural questions, follow the legal framework, not just the branding of your president of the United States. We're AYA, contributors Midas Touch Network, and proud members of the Midas Mighty. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow for more updates. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
Wow. So what do y'all think about that? So we got the Trump RX here, child. He's here to save the day and rescue and help the people so they can get affordable medications that are already discounted. He's just putting his name on it and giving you a portal and leading you to these websites that are already up and running that are giving people discounts on their medications, such as GoodRx. But you insert yourself into it to make it look like you are the one who is putting this in place to help the people. But we really see it for what it really is. You are the one who are putting things in place to actually dismantle people and affect people's healthcare, right? Because if you actually cared about people having the proper healthcare and being able to get affordable medications, you wouldn't have disrupted people's insurance policies. You wouldn't have disrupted the Affordable Care Act that was allowing millions of people to be able to afford affordable and healthcare insurance. But you dismantle that, and then you run your hustle with your name on it. Like, I mean, I don't really know. Like, sometimes I feel like I can't say the things that I want to say, but sometimes I feel like, y'all, the answers or the understanding to a lot of the stuff is more simple than what we make it. It's like she said, if it looked like a duck and it sound like a duck, it's a duck, period. All of it adds up. Like, there's one thing after another, after another, after another. And one of the other things that is my personal opinion is we're looking now and seeing a lot of these little pop-up schemes and little businesses and hustles that he's presenting to the public. Why do you think he's doing that? Because he already knows the way he's run this administration it's not going to suffice. You're going to be out in one way or another. You're going to be out of there. You're not going to be president anymore. And how are you going to hustle now? You got to find the next hustle, because that's what you all about, is the money. You've always been that way. Since early on, when you was young and with your father and y'all was doing all that real estate fraud and all, like, come on. You've been fraudulent. You've been a hustler. You've been a scammer. You've been doing it your entire life. And you know that this presidential thing is just not working out for you. And it's not going to continue to last very much longer. So before you get up out of there, you're going to use the resources that you have. You're going to use the privilege that you have from being in there to go ahead and pass around scams and fraudulent companies and things of that nature for people to get. And look how the nasty work is. You take vital things away from people and then you insert your scam to make money off of the people. Does that not sound calculated to you? You affect people's health insurance, right? You try to dismantle and take away the Affordable Care Act, which is an insurance that will not just cover people's doctor's visits, but also their medications that they may need to get. You take all of that away, and then you insert your scam website for people to get discounted medications, which you don't even have all of the medications on that website that most people are prescribed. I just be seeing things differently, y'all. I don't know how y'all see it, but I see things in very simplistic form. It all adds up and makes sense to me. And what it all boils down to at the end of the day is these individuals that want to put money in their pockets and they don't give a crap about you. But they'll scare you, they'll fear you, they'll take things from you to where you're desperate, you're almost begging and needing whatever it is that they're offering. That's the grand hustle if I ain't ever seen one. And if you're a person that been from the streets and you know about hustling and you know how things work like that, then all you gotta do is just apply the same concept to what they're doing. It's the same thing. These people are scammers and hustlers, liars and cheaters, frauds. That's what they are. Each and every single one of them. You look the way they move and how they do things. That's all they've been doing. Scamming, hustling, frauding. Repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And they'll always come up with another scam, another hustle, and another way to be a fraud. And the problem that I have is I believe that most of us are getting sick and tired of seeing this hamster wheel spin around and around and around and around again, but nobody wants to call it what it is, for what it is, and exactly how it is. That's how it is. That's what these people are doing. Why are they not running these departments and operations properly? Because they don't know nothing about doing that. What they know is how to scam, hustle, and fraud. That's what they know. And this man right here, Lord Jesus, God give us strength, got himself up in there in the government, one of the most, well, what they say in this country is the most powerful positions that you can hold as a president, because you can delegate tasks, you can bring people in, you can hire your homie, your cousin, your friend, your girlfriend, whoever. Everybody done work on the job where people done got hired that had no qualification for the position. But what do they say? It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. They're operating this government off of those precedents. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know and what you can do for them and what they may decide to give back to you in return. Everybody who got their position in this administration right now, well, not everybody, but majority of these people who got their position in this administration right now, that's how they've been moving and operating and shaking all along. And so when the scams and the hustles and the schemes start to come out, are we surprised? No. That's what these people do. That's what they've been doing. But anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and move on to the next video. Let me get it all set up and I'll be right back.
About climate change, claiming it is a hoax only makes him look more stupid than he already is. The climate crisis is no longer a distant warning on the horizon. It is a present tense emergency, accelerating with every passing year. Wildfires devour entire towns. Heat waves shatter records and overwhelm hospitals. Floods swallow neighborhoods that have stood for generations. Scientists warn that the planet is edging closer to irreversible tipping points, thresholds beyond which warming accelerates beyond human control. In this moment of mounting peril, the decision to dismantle climate protections is not merely a theatrical act. It is a choice that puts millions in danger.
Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers. Prices went up incredibly for a worse product. And yet this radical rule became the legal foundation for the Green New Scam, one of the greatest scams in history, probably as great, maybe even greater than Russia hoax, etc.
Trump regime's efforts to rescind the Environmental Protection Agency's 2009 endangerment finding strikes at the heart of U.S. climate governance. That finding established that greenhouse gases endanger public health and welfare, providing the legal basis for regulating climate pollution under the Clean Air Act. Eliminating it also eliminates the federal government's desire to limit emissions from vehicles, power plants, and industry. Climate leaders, environmental organizations, and lawmakers have described Trump's move as an extraordinary rollback, one that will undoubtedly unravel decades of progress. In response to today's announcement, the Federation of American Scientists criticized Trump's position. The science couldn't be clearer, they said. Unchecked emissions of greenhouse gases are increasing the frequency and toll of disasters like flash flooding in Texas, catastrophic wildfires in Los Angeles, and stifling heat domes that repeatedly blanket huge swathes of the country.
That's why, effective immediately, we're repealing the ridiculous endangerment finding and terminating all additional green emission standards imposed unnecessarily on vehicle models and engines between 2012 and 2027 and beyond. We cancel the EPA's absurd, just totally absurd tailpipe emission standards, which was a disaster for automobile manufacturing, and revoked Biden's emissions waiver that would have allowed California to regulate automobiles for the entire nation, and they're crazy out in California.
Revoking the endangerment finding would shove science aside in favor of special interests and at the expense of American health and well-being. When asked what the administration's message was to climate scientists and experts who said the rollback would have a catastrophic impact on people's health, Donald Trump simply said, "I tell them, don't worry about it, because it has nothing to do with public health. This was all a scam, giant scam."
The Trump EPA has finalized the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States of America. Referred to by some as the holy grail of federal regulatory overreach, the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated.
The urgency.
I'm sorry. I just want to say something real quick. Do y'all ever notice that when the people be making the speeches or whatnot, that they're supposed to be boosting up and gassing him up and stuff like that, they look like they're being held at pow point? And do you ever see the way he be grilling them and looking them down to the ground like they better not get not one word or sentence wrong? I just be looking at like how he be like looking over them, like he really just be like staring them down, like they've practiced this speech, they've practiced this lie, and the person who is making the speech, they look like they're fearful and scared, so they best get every word right and every lie out the way it was practiced and set up for them to get it. And he's looking at them like with that side eye look, like, yeah, you better make sure you say every word and every sentence just the way we practice it and I told you to say it. Like, do it not give that to y'all when y'all be watching these these type of speeches and stuff where these people be up here at the mic? I don't take any of them seriously. And then the ones that be standing around in the background, it's like, why are you even there? They be rolling their eyes at him when he talk behind his back. It's really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing.
Of this moment cannot be overstated. The world has already warmed by roughly 1.3 degrees. At this level, extreme weather events are intensifying. Heat waves are becoming longer and deadlier, particularly for children, the elderly, and outdoor workers. Wildfires, fueled by hotter, drier conditions, fill the air with toxic smoke, increasing respiratory and cardiovascular illnesses. Hurricanes grow more destructive as warmer oceans provide more energy. Scientists warn that at 3 to 4 degrees of warming, social and economic systems will be strained to their breaking point. Even before that threshold, destabilizing feedback loops, melting ice sheets, thawing permafrost, collapsing forests will push the Earth towards a hothouse state that locks in devastation for centuries. Despite these warnings, the regime has championed fossil fuels with renewed vigor. Donald Trump has publicly embraced coal, signing executive orders to direct the Department of Defense to purchase coal-generated power and allocating federal funds to extend the life of aging coal plants. At a White House ceremony today, he accepted an award celebrating his support for the coal industry, flanked by executives and advocates. Coal interests have invested millions in political influence, and critics argue that regulatory rollbacks align closely with those industry priorities. Coal is not simply another energy source. It's the most carbon-intensive major fossil fuel. Reviving it in the face of climate science means locking in higher emissions precisely when rapid reductions are essential. While the regime has framed deregulation as a way to lower energy costs and strengthen the economy, independent experts warn that climate damages, from disaster recovery to healthcare costs, could reach into the trillions of dollars. Those costs are not borne by industry executives, but by taxpayers, homeowners, and communities struggling to rebuild after climate-fueled catastrophes. And insurance companies have less interest than ever.
Thank you, Mr. President. Literally no other president would have done this to get at the foundations of the Green New Deal. So tremendously excited that we are where we are today. Great work by Lee. I'm a little worried that this next year will be EPA alone will be dereg east by the number of things that are going to come out of EPA. So great work to the team. $1.3 trillion in savings, massive historical opportunity.
The human toll of inaction is stark. Extreme heat is already the leading weather-related killer in the United States. As temperatures climb, outdoor labor becomes more dangerous, agricultural productivity declines, and power grids strain under surging demand for air conditioning. At the same time, climate disruption can destabilize polar air currents, contributing to severe winter storms that paralyze infrastructure. The volatility itself, rapid swings between extremes, creates cascading failures in food systems, transportation, and healthcare delivery. Globally, the consequences are even more destabilizing. Rising sea levels threaten coastal megacities. Droughts devastate crops, driving hunger and economic collapse. Entire regions may become too hot for sustained outdoor labor. As livelihoods disappear, climate migration accelerates. The World Bank and other institutions project that tens of millions, potentially far more, could be displaced within decades. Large-scale displacement intensifies geopolitical tensions, strains borders, and fuels conflict over dwindling resources and immigration. When the United States, historically the largest cumulative emitter of greenhouse gases, weakens its climate commitments, it sends a signal that reverberates worldwide. At the same time, the economic argument for doubling down on fossil fuels is increasingly outdated. The clean energy transition, often described as a green revolution, is one of the fastest growing sectors of the global economy. Solar and wind power have become dramatically cheaper over the past decade. Battery storage, electric vehicles, and grid modernization projects are expanding rapidly. Investments in renewable energy and energy efficiency create jobs in manufacturing, construction, installation, and maintenance, jobs that cannot be outsourced and that revitalize local economies, but more importantly, can't be done by AI. Studies consistently show that clean energy industries employ more workers per unit of electricity generated than fossil fuels. Wind turbine technicians and solar installers are among the fastest growing occupations in the United States. Large-scale renewable projects bring new tax bases to rural communities. Modernizing buildings and infrastructure creates skilled labor opportunities across states. Rather than clinging to declining industries, the green transition offers pathways for economic diversification and resilience. Donald Trump's decision to slow or shut down green projects, to delay permits for renewable installations, and redirect federal resources toward fossil fuel subsidies risks wasting millions of dollars already invested in clean infrastructure. Halting projects midstream not only undermines investor confidence, but also forfeits economic momentum. When federal policy oscillates dramatically, private sector planning becomes more uncertain, and capital flows elsewhere, often to countries that are accelerating their green energy transitions. The choice is not between economic prosperity and environmental protection. It is between short-term extraction and long-term stability. Fossil fuel expansion may yield immediate profits for a concentrated set of wealthy stakeholders, but the broader economy pays the price through disaster recovery costs, rising insurance premiums, healthcare burdens, and lost productivity. Meanwhile, the clean energy sector promises sustained growth, technological leadership, and improved public health through reduced air pollution. Why, then, does climate emergency sometimes appear muted in American politics compared with elsewhere in Europe? Structural and cultural factors play a role. The US two-party system often polarizes climate policy, while European multi-party systems allow green parties to shape governing coalitions. Legacy fossil fuel production remains intertwined with regional identities and employment in certain US states, amplifying resistance to transition. Industry lobbying and campaign finance structures further entrench fossil fuel influence. In addition, climate impacts can feel unevenly distributed, leading some communities to perceive the crisis as distant until disaster strikes close to home. But physics does not negotiate. Carbon dioxide accumulates in the atmosphere regardless of political rhetoric. Every new coal contract, every regulatory rollback, and every delayed renewable project narrows the window to avoid the most catastrophic outcomes. Scientists warn that once certain tipping points are crossed, reversing course may become impossible on human timescales. The climate crisis demands urgency equal to its scale. Policies that weaken emission controls and elevate the most polluting fuels move in the opposite direction of what science prescribes. The stakes are measured not only in parts per million of atmospheric carbon, but in lives disrupted, communities displaced, and futures constrained. The path forward, rapid decarbonization, investment in clean energy, and science-based governance, offers both protection and opportunity. The alternative is a gamble with consequences equal to a human genocide on a scale that nobody has ever seen before. And that will be Donald Trump's legacy.
We've basically stopped all windmills in this country. It's the most expensive energy you can get. They're all made in China, a little bit in Germany, but mostly in China. And we're putting them all over our fields and ruining the fields and killing the birds and all of this. And the environmentalists say they like them, but they really are a tremendous eyesore. They've ruined. Europe has gone, as you know, Europe isn't even recognizable anymore between immigration and because of environmental things like the windmills, which are taking over.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sundays on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.
Love.
All right, so there we go. Okay, so we got issues with everything, but we have climate control issues. And I know a lot of people have noticed, but probably didn't really understand why. But we have understood that the weather has been changed for a very long period of time now. Yeah. It's very different from like when we were itty bitties and little ones running around as to what we see the seasons in the weather like now. And a lot of this has reasoning behind it. And we see that, well, Trump, he wants to be coal king. And we heard exactly what these fossil fuels and this coal mining, all of these things that they're putting into place, how it can actually change the climate and the air, the pollution that's in the air that we're breathing in, that, allegedly can cause health ailments. But, when we tie all of these things together, sometimes people want to list it as a conspiracy theory. Maybe it is a conspiracy theory, but a lot of the time, if you do the research and the science, it actually adds up. But, we're going to take a quick song break, and I have a special treat for y'all. We're going to get into our last video, and Mama Warrior is here, and she's got a few things to say. So y'all hold on tight, and we'll be right back.
Check the bag, check the tag, check the greed. ICE agents hunting humans just to get the fee they need. They don't care about the name, they don't care about the face. Just a bounty on the soul, trying to scrub them from the place. Getting paid by the head, yeah, they stacking up the bread. While the families in the shadows living life in constant dread. It's a business, it's a racket, it's a cold-blooded game. They'll snatch a father from his daughter just to justify the name. ICE is moving through the night. For the love of money, they're trading souls for federal life. For the love of money, they're apprehend anyone for pay. Doesn't matter who you are, they're gonna take you away. For that lean, green, the system's got them more than need. I need the racks, but not like that. No, I need the plaque, but keep the fat straight. YouTube views got them acting real strange. Selling out the culture for some digital change. Clip the struggle, monetize the pain. While the agents in the street are washing blood with the rain. They're getting paid to hunt, I'm getting paid to speak. The government is greed and the schools are so weak. Check the analytics, check the borderline. The greed in the district's gonna drive us out our mind. Apprehending for a bonus, that's a soul-crushing crime. Let you have it, I'd rather have the truth. Stop trading our future and the spirits of our youth. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Don't let the algorithm change you. Money, 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 money. The head feel tall, and standing tall for the people.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Mama Warrior. I'm joining in too today. I have watched all the videos that have been prepared that we have shown. I am listening. I am alert. I see what is going on. And I have freedom of speech and I have freedom of my opinion. So this will be an opinionated piece for me. I'm going to tell y'all how I see it. This Trump, I can't say president. I try to get that out of my, I try to get that out, but I can't say that because he's not a president. This Trump, to me, in a spiritual way, is a demonic entity. I'll say it again. He's a demonic entity. This Trump has come to steal, kill, and destroy America and the democracy as we know it. Every area of our lives, this man has gone on to poison. He poisons the climate. He poisons the American people. He poisons family. He poisons our finances and our homes and our peace and our tranquility and our love. At least I'm going to say he attempts, because God is in reign. So he attempts, and he's doing a great attempt at this point. But his days are coming. It's coming soon. But that's how I see this president. I don't believe that came out of my mouth. This Trump. He's a demonic entity. And when dealing with a demonic entity, you have to fight against the principalities, and that's what he is. He is a person. And you know what? I have a little warning for the wealthy that is close to him and those that they call the elites. That is close to him. You better beware of him as well, because this demonic entity is only about himself. And when I say himself, I mean himself. He's only about himself. And it won't come but for too long that those that stand beside him and talk to him and speak for him and shine his shoes and kiss his butt, there will come a time. There will come a time that he will do them in as well. So those of you who stand with this man and feel as though this man is really in your corner, you better watch out, because this kind of demonic energy is in nobody's corner.
No, he didn't throw many other people under the bus. They already felt the scorch. So, you know, this is just the next group. They'll feel the scorch at some point in time.
Mm-hmm. And he's already started corruption and conspiracy among you, because as I see it, I see y'all about to tear each other apart from within. You guys are tearing each other apart from within. And he has orchestrated all this, this demonic entity has orchestrated it.
To save his own tail. Yeah, that's what they do. This is what people like this do. They pin people against each other. They allow these people to sell there and fight for scraps amongst each other after they leave them and say, you know what, I'm done with you. I discard you. I'll leave you out here to, you know, fend for yourself.
Throw them out like trash.
They
throw them out like trash. Even those that
they
stand
are there
beside
and
him.
they scrape and scrounge and try to figure out how can they hold on to what they had? How can they get back a piece of what they had? How do they get back to that space without that person or that leader in charge of them, or giving them these benefits and these passes or whatever it is? But these people don't care about anything but themselves. They just allow these people to work for them and do their bidding, so it's less that they have to do, and they can keep their hands a bit cleaner. And then once you get thrown out and discarded, now you're trying to figure out, well, how do I get this back? How do I get this back? How do I maintain what I was doing without this person? Because if you wasn't the mastermind behind it, you wasn't thinking and moving for yourself, you was just, you know, a moth to a flame. Yeah, you might be a little lost out there if you ain't got no understanding on how to move and operate for yourself. And a lot of these people that they have put in this administration, this position, that's exactly what they are. These are people that was looking for a payoff. These are people that was looking for a payday. These are people that was looking for to actually be somebody of some type of stature, if they never have been and never was able to do it on their own.
Correct.
And they asked and they begged and they pleaded and they promised to do things for this man so they can get into these positions to give them some type of sense of self and some type of sense of that they're somebody. But really, they're nobody. Never been, never will be. Don't know what you're doing. Find a different skill. Maybe instead of trying to be in these positions, maybe you should be over there making cupcakes or something. Open up a bakery.
Right.
This ain't for you. This ain't a position you need to be in. It's not to say you're not good at nothing, but you're not good at this.
Right.
So move on out the way and let somebody do it who's qualified to do it.
Oh, he will not move out of the way. He will have to be moved. He will not move.
I'm talking about even the people underneath him as well.
Oh, yeah.
They have put their butts in these seats in these positions, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to handle these positions, but they got them because what? Y'all promised to do him a favor. Y'all promised to do what he asked. He promised you something, but now all of the truth is coming out and the fire is coming down on him. Do you think that he's gonna be like, come on, y'all, let's all get on the jet and escape?
No, he's about himself. This man is about himself.
If he's gonna try and run and escape, he's getting on a jet by himself. And y'all are left behind on the strip saying, wait for me. And they're gonna take off and you just gonna be left on that strip, and then the police is gonna come and get you. And that's it.
This man has always spoken about making homes in outer space.
Wow.
He's looking for places to go. He wants to go under the sea.
Under the sea, outer space.
What do they call them things? Bunkers. And he's trying to figure out a place only he can go. He's not making a place.
And y'all go knock on the door and say,
For
remember
him
me?
to go.
Remember me? I'm Kristi Noem. Remember what I did for you?
Child,
They're not opening.
nobody.
They're not opening the
No.
latch. You're not
He's
coming
gonna
in
throw
with
you out to
him.
the curb just like he throws out everything else. Just
You'll
like
be
this
outside.
water.
It reminds me of
It's
the
like
episode of
dishwater.
American Horror Story.
Yeah.
Child. You outside. Some people get in and some people don't. And these people think that they're gonna get in, and they're not. In the bunker, I mean, come on, that's pathetic. You're going in there to hide and stay safe from a lot of the chaos that you have caused. But you don't care about anybody else.
Entity you cannot hide from. You cannot hide from God. You cannot hide from God. And I believe that God is going to be the one to remove him. And however he does, he's going to remove him. And he's going to restore our America in this world. It's going to restore it. That is my personal Christian belief. And I also believe that we have to just hold on to the faith. And the thing that I live by, for those that are listening that know me or don't know me, what I live by is I live by what my God has said in his Bible when he says, fear no man, but fear me. And that's what it is that allows me to speak in the way that I speak, because I fear God. I do not fear nothing down here on the earth called a man or a woman. I fear God. That's who I fear.
Right. And there's nothing that can be taken from you from any human entity that God cannot replenish and return to you. So you don't have to be walking around in fear of these stuff.
And I remember a day, I'm 62, and I remember paying attention to politics, being in politics, seeing some presidents. And I've always held a high regard in my heart for a president. I had a respect for a president. Right. I was careful about what I said about a president. But this man, this thing right here, this is not a president. And this is what freely allows me to say the things that I say. I remember a day I would never speak about a president like that. But this one has shown me that, no, that's not a president.
And there were some that was not great.
Well,
they
yeah,
did a lot of similar things.
That's true. That is true. But I'm saying in the ones that I came to
during your lifetime.
Yes, like Clinton, like Obama, like Bush to a degree. You know what I mean? But these are presidents that if I liked them,
wasn't this bad.
It was like if I liked them or disliked them, I gave them the respect of holding that position in office.
Right.
This man, I cannot.
He's not doing it right.
I cannot.
Based off of their own the structure alone, he's not doing it right. It's not our structure. We didn't make it. We didn't create it. We didn't write the Constitution. We didn't write the amendment.
And then there's
that. We didn't create none of that.
And then there's the Epstein files. There's that.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest. Because,
Not making any personal accusation against him.
How can you?
But I can say what I think. But I could not make a legal accusation of all that I believe that he has done. So that also helps me not have any respect.
There's
or
a lot of
honor
people that have
for
done
this,
a lot of things.
This man. I have
That's
no
all
honor.
gonna come out. It's a lot of people that done a lot of
I have
things.
no honor for him.
Nasty things, dark things, evil things, demonic things. And it's all coming to the light, especially within this year. Because this is the year of, transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Things are coming to
And
the
as
light.
well as being a black woman, I'm a black person. That's another reason I can have no honor or respect for him, because he is indeed a racist and a white nationalist, in my opinion.
In your opinion.
To just cap that off, in my opinion.
I mean, what is she? They just said it already. If it looked like a duck and it quacked like a duck, it's a duck.
It's a duck.
If it looked like a racist and it talked like a racist,
It's a racist. Right.
What more do we need to know here? What more benefit of the doubt do we have to give any of these individuals that show and exactly exude the behaviors and the feelings that they have towards people that are a race that is not of their own?
Right.
And we know that there's prejudice. Okay, we can break that down. I mean, there's prejudice and then there's racism. He exudes both.
Mm-hmm.
He's prejudiced, and then he also has the power to be racist.
Right.
Because he has the power to change the structural society based off of what race gets in, what race doesn't, what race gets benefit, what race doesn't,
right.
What race can, excel, what race doesn't. That's the exact example and definition of racism.
Yes, I agree with Dr. Williamson.
Trump shows and represents to us the majority of Americans are right-wing racists.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Well,
yeah.
Look, there's racists on any side. It don't matter what side you represent. You can be still racist.
Mm-hmm. And that's not
if you are the right race to be racist. Now, you can be very much prejudiced no matter what race you are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to racism, it is a constructual thing.
Yeah, physically.
It's like you can physically affect other people's well-being and lives and what happens to them because you are somebody who wants to discriminate against them based off of their race. That is racism.
Mm-hmm.
Prejudice is I don't like you. For whatever reason, I don't like you because you're black, because your hair is kinky, because you're prettier than me, because of whatever. Right?
Right. And that's not to say that any of our former presidents weren't as well could have been racist back there in the years. I'm not saying none of them
not be
not been.
In a position of racism, even though that it doesn't reside in your heart, but it resides in the Constitution that you create and what you uphold.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a lot of this Constitution Amendment rights, laws, and regulations and stuff, until they started being amended and changed by presidents that came along and had a right heart to do so,
right?
They started out with a racist tone. There were people that were invited and able to be in, and there were people and races that were not able to be in. And that's what exudes racism. When you are keeping other races out, when you are keeping other races from being able to benefit from the same things you benefit from, and you have the power to do that, that's racism. Prejudice, anybody can be prejudiced. Correct. A lot of times they go hand in hand. You're not just racist because you have the power to do it, and you're setting up these constructs to do it, but you also have a deep-rooted hate in your heart for individuals that you don't like because they either don't look like you or whatever. They're a different race from you. Whatever it is you don't like them for, that's your prejudice that's in your heart. Your racism comes from the constitutional structure that you have some type of hand in changing on whether things will be fair for these races of people within a construct. And if you are the one that is in the lead and has the ability to change that, then you have the power in your ballpark.
And I think the president, when you take over the president of the United States, I think if you go in that office and you don't like certain people, and then you like certain people. The best president is the president that does what the law tells them to do, and that they follow the law by every step of the way. Here's
to an extent,
here's a
because
demonic
some
man
of them, no,
that does not
because some
follow
of them
the law.
judges and
He
stuff
does not
like
follow
that,
any law, none.
Some of them judges and stuff like that, they also are equally racist, and they need to go too. Some of them judges need to go. The representatives and stuff, they've cleaned that up a little bit, but it could be cleaned up some more.
So it could be
because
more
a
than
lot
that.
of them are racist as well. Well, not racist, we can say prejudice, because they only have a certain amount of power. But they hold at least more power over your head than what you have as a regular citizen. So you see what I'm saying? It's a power dynamic.
So what
when
are
it
we,
comes to race.
when you do a contrast between this?
We need no racists in no positions, period, in the governmental structure. We need no people who have any hate or prejudice in their heart in the governmental structure. That's the only way we're going to see fairness. That's what I believe.
There are but
if there's anybody that has a portion of hate, if there's anybody that feels as though they have a portion of privilege, nothing is going to change. Because think about the votes. We need votes when it comes to a lot of things. How many is voting on this side? How many is voting on that side? If this is a prejudiced, hateful ass person, do you think they're going to vote on the right side that needs to be voted on? No, they're going to vote against that because of the hate and the prejudice that they have in their heart. And their racism is because they're in a position above regular citizens to where they actually have power to use their vote and weaponize it against what's best for the people.
I don't think that will happen
Of all
this time.
races.
This won't happen this time.
Well, I think they're starting to see that now.
Yeah, this is not going to happen.
I think the people are starting to see that now.
And
that's what I think is important most, is that the people are starting to see how all of this is constructed and how it all plays out. What hasn't happened is people didn't know. Because a lot of people was not interested in politics. A lot of people wasn't listening to politics and watching how these things move and shape.
I have a question for you. What is the contrast between this man here, Trump, and the Republicans that stand with him? Are we to say, or can we say, as we walk through this, are we saying that they are also in that same
then there's that, Imani, too.
racist
But guess
mindset?
what? When it comes to the voters who are putting the members of Congress and senators in power, we also have to think about how they feel. A lot of them are prejudiced and racist too. That's why we get that. But you know that. But this is why we get these outcomes sometimes, and we get this unwavered side of the vote from this side, right side, left side, whatever side. A lot of these people vote because of their prejudice and their racism. And they do have a position of racism as well. Some of these people that are voting, guess what? They're CEOs. They are billionaires of Fortune 500 companies. So therefore, they're able to exude racism because they can exclude people from these organizations and groups that they work for because they have power over them, because they are at a higher tier than them. That is what racism is. When you have a power to change something over somebody.
My question, I want to check.
Prejudice is you just don't like them, you hate them, whatever, for whatever reason, because they're black, whatever.
I want to check to also come in with your opinion as well. I asked the question, what are we to say? With this here Trump and the Republicans that seem to be standing by and letting all this happen, are we to say that they are too racist minded as well? Or I have seen a couple Republicans who have began to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. But, and that's just a very few of them. But what are we to say about the majority of the Republicans? Are they in this man's same mindset as why they don't stand up for the people? Is that why?
I think it's combined. I think that because, like I said, it's the tier. It's like the food chain. Think about the food chain, right? These individuals that's up there, do you think that they're on the same level as somebody that work at Dollar General or Burger King? No, they're not. Do you think they're on the same level as somebody that live in the hood or the projects? No, they're not. So therefore, they can exude their voice, their influence in a way to discriminate against the ones that are beneath them, which falls under the tier of racism. But I also think a lot of these people are prejudiced, that they just don't like certain people for whatever reason.
So you think that's the reason why we have a majority of Republicans that's not standing up to see this atrocity and craziness that's going on and stand up and bipartisan our way out of it?
Yes,
this is the
because
reason.
of prejudice. Yeah, they're prejudiced. They're prejudiced. They're hateful. They're hateful people and they're prejudiced. And they take their little position that they have of power and they run with it all the way to the finish line. And they know that they can use their voice and their vote to vote against what they're prejudiced against.
And let me be fair and go on the other side of the wall and talk about some of the Democrats too. Now, I know we also have some Democrats that are questionable as well.
Yeah.
And they're standing by with this as well.
Yeah.
So let's keep it fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we got some of them in there too.
It's people, period. You know what I mean? It don't have, that's why I say it don't have to be about left or right or Democrat or Republican or anything else like that. It's about what
standing up and doing what is right. That's the main
of the
thing.
person.
Standing
What
up
does
and
that
doing
person
what
think?
is right.
What
by
does that
the
person
people.
feel? What type
All
of person is
people.
that? That's what it is. What type of person are you? You know, what is your, you know, your morals, your values? Do you have any love or empathy for anyone else? Or are you just a selfish person? Are you a hateful person? There's all different type of people in this world.
Right.
It don't matter what side of the table you're sitting on.
Yeah, because this man here is an atrocity.
What type of person are you?
He's an atrocity.
What do you think? What do you believe? How do you feel? Do you hate people? No. Okay.
I have to struggle. You know, there's been situations in my life where I had to struggle.
You dislike people, but you didn't hate them.
Right, right. I can't hate people. I mean, I might say it in anger. I hate her, I hate him, you know. But then I'm into my prayer.
But you never want to go out your way to hurt
figure
them.
that thing out, huh?
You won't go out your way to hurt them.
Oh no.
Unless they try to come for you.
No. Or come from my family or my baby or something like that. Yeah,
but there's still a level that you'll go to and a level that you won't go to.
I won't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That balance and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is very complex, Imani. I think it is
very more complex. It's also got a lot to do with this money. It's a lot going on with this money because I actually believe that Trump brought the votes that he brought this time for him to become.
I
president.
think Trump buy votes like
believe that
YouTubers
he
buy
won.
subscribers.
I don't believe he won this election. I believe something corrupt and something went on of how he got in there. I don't believe he won this election, honestly. I do not.
Did you hear what I said? I said I think Trump brought them votes like some of these YouTubers buy subscribers.
Correct.
It really is a mirror and a parallel. It
Correct.
really is.
And it could be done. Can't say it's impossible to have
Money.
It was done.
It
was done.
That's what it's always about. But we do have one final video to play. So let's go ahead and play this and let us stop chit-chatting. But we haven't got to talk together like this for a long time. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I like talking with you on the live. But let's go ahead and get into this final video, y'all. So we have to move on down to Rubio. And so when we get into our final video, it's, you know, has some international ties. Our allies were gathered in Munich for a high-level meeting on the future of Ukraine. The Berlin format talks. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was supposed to be there. Instead, he skipped it at the last minute, citing that he had schedule conflicts. European officials are calling the move insane and damaging. Without the U.S. at the table, the meeting, I guess, you know, it's lacking some types of substance. It's sending a chilling message to Zelensky and our NATO allies that the U.S. is just basically unprofessional and checking out on every accord. And so let's go ahead and get into that video real quick. This will be coming from Morning Joe on MSNBC. So let's go ahead and listen to this together, y'all, and we'll meet y'all in the chat.
Welcome back. Presidential envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are set to meet tomorrow with Iran's foreign minister in Geneva. The second round of nuclear talks come as President Trump says any agreement must include zero uranium enrichment in Iran. As those talks occur, the United States continues to build up military assets throughout the region. 2 aircraft carriers, the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald Ford, are being positioned for potential strikes, as well as multiple fighter jets. That comes following the Munich Security Conference this weekend, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio skipped a high-level meeting with Ukrainian officials alongside representatives from Poland, Germany, and other countries. Rubio did meet with Zelensky in Munich, but didn't join the larger meeting due to scheduling conflicts. After Munich, Rubio traveled first to Slovakia and then Hungary, where moments ago he met with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. I want to bring into our conversation President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass. MS Now senior national security reporter David Rode is back from Munich and joins us as well. So, Richard, I want to start with you just on the general idea that underpinning the news coming out of Munich was this seeming rethinking about some of the bedrock principles that have made us allies with, for example, the Europeans in the aftermath of a Rubio speech that was pretty magnified, even though he delivered it in his typical Rubio cadence. So different than Vance, but at the same time, you're still watching all of these foreign leaders sort of grapple with the ways that our typical world order has changed, or has it? I mean, what do you see coming out of this?
Look, Allie, the backdrop to the speech was important. You had all the toing and froing a few weeks ago at Davos over Greenland. Europeans have lost faith in the Article 5 commitment of the United States that we would come to their defense against Russia. You have 4 years of U.S. policy towards Ukraine, and over the last year, you have the United States pulling back from Ukraine and tilting heavily in Russia's direction. So yes, as you say, and David will talk about this, there was, I think, an appreciation of aspects of the Rubio speech, and it was not J.D. Vance, but it still had questions about, real disagreements with Europe over climate change, over support for international institutions, immigration, and so forth. So yes, I think the speech was basically welcome, but could it undo all the differences again over Ukraine?
Before Married America, Amy was struggling financially.
Over tariffs, over really the totality of U.S. policy towards Europe over the last 12, 13 months? Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's like a tough love letter is the way that it was being talked about, David. And I wonder from your conversations on the ground, does that description capture what key U.S. officials or certainly European officials on the ground felt in the aftermath of watching it?
Look, Rubio is a great politician and he delivered a very strong speech. But the key thing in the speech was that he constantly referred to Western civilization and Western values. And it was sort of this nationalist culture argument. He said the phrase Western civilization as often as he said the word democracy. And that image you just showed of him meeting with Viktor Orban, the authoritarian leader of Hungary, says, and I heard this from people at the conference, this is about democracy. And there's real questions in Europe whether the United States under the Trump administration, aggressively supports democracy and aggressively supports human rights in general. There was a tenor of the speech about Western civilization and that sort of the West had certain rights, but the rest of the world was different. And a fascinating dynamic, too, was that there were many young Democrats there. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was there, and she made a point in a meeting she had with some reporters of saying human rights extends to Palestinians. That's obviously a very controversial topic, Gaza, but it was a really stark contrast, even though Rubio tried to smooth it over between, Trumpism, what that stands for, and then Democrats trying to offer a different, I think, vision for the future.
Richard, one of the things that is really important, and you know this better than I, in foreign policy is consistency. And the lack of consistency that we've seen from administration to administration on foreign policy in this country, but also in this administration, from speech last year from J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, to the speech this year, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. What did you read into the difference in tenor where you have J.D. Vance chiding all of the European allies in a speech in Europe last year to what we saw from Marco Rubio this year?
Let's go back to your first point, which is consistency and predictability are essential if you want to be a successful great power and one that has alliance commitments. You can't introduce doubt. Doubt is corrosive for alliances, to countries that depend on you. It's also corrosive for deterrence because it makes others much more likely to challenge you. In this case, Russia, China, North Korea, and others who mean us no good. So, it was, again, Marco Rubio's speech, as you saw, people in the hall reacted favorably, at least at the moment. I think the more they read the text carefully afterwards, it was a little bit less favorably, as it didn't really indicate a change in policy. And look how you began this segment. You've got Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine. Quite honestly, Marco Rubio, unfortunately, does not control U.S. policy towards Ukraine. Based upon Senator Rubio, he'd probably be much more supportive of Ukraine, much tougher towards Russia, but he doesn't control it. So again, I think the speech was welcome, but a speech doesn't make a policy. And the speech ends, you wake up the next day, Donald Trump is still president. Witkoff and Jared Kushner are doing Ukraine. They're doing Iran negotiations. And then Marco Rubio didn't help himself by flying off to meet with Viktor Orban, who is symbolic of an illiberal alternative to liberal Western Europe. So again, speech positive, but I think more than offset by the totality of American foreign policy.
Yeah, David, I want to kind of pick up there as you talk about the ways that Witkoff and Kushner have increasingly come to control some of the major negotiations on foreign policy topics during this administration. Can you talk about some of the conversations that you had on the ground about that role that they are playing, specifically as you have Witkoff leading in these conversations, making multiple trips to Russia, speaking with Putin in attempts, we believe, to end the war in Ukraine, and then, of course, also controlling these discussions around Iran. What are you hearing about Witkoff's role itself, but then also what they might be driving towards in some of these key negotiations?
So in terms of Russia, a senior European official warned me that essentially Moscow and Putin are dangling money in front of the Trump administration. Last week, President Zelensky said that an aide to Putin is sort of talking with Witkoff in private about up to $12 trillion somehow in economic and business agreements between the U.S. and Russia. Richard just pointed out to me that the entire Russian economy is $2 trillion. So how it grows by 4 or 5 times between now and then is unclear. But essentially, there's been great reporting also by the Wall Street Journal about family business deals being made in the Middle East, and also, the pursuit of that specifically by Witkoff for business deals in Russia. So there's real concern about what the priority is for the Trump administration among European officials. And then on Iran, there's a sense that the United States will use force there. Some sources in the Middle East have told MS Now that if the bottom line is this demand by President Trump of no enrichment of uranium of any kind in Iran, the Iranians won't accept that. So it's, you're looking at confrontation there as well.
Yeah, that's always been a key sticking point in these conversations with Iran, not just for the Trump administration, but for the Obama administration, too.
All right, y'all. So that was just a little brief video and report that I wanted to show y'all as far as what was going on when it comes to, Rubio, comes to what's going on here in the U.S. Okay, I know y'all probably watching, y'all see it for yourselves, and y'all know we have our thoughts and opinions on it as well. But I mean, I really don't even know what to think anymore. Everything is just so out of balance. It's so out of order.
Yeah.
There's no unity. There's no connectivity anymore.
No.
And I think that is the biggest thing that troubles me. So, because when it comes to differences, right? Us being different races, different heritage, different backgrounds, live in different countries all over the big, beautiful globe. There was a point in time where we at least can be cordial enough to work together with one another. And now it just seems like that's all falling away. And I don't know what that's going to look like and what that's going to end up, doing and being for all of us. But as we have shown here, on this live and other videos and stuff,
and that's all because of this one
person,
demonic entity
in their group. One person in their group. They need to be suspended from the school. Because honestly, they don't know what they're doing. They're not passing any tests. Like, they need to be suspended. I think they need to go to alternative school or something like that where they can get the proper help they need respectfully. But it's just like this is not where you need to be. This is not the institution for you. Like, you're not.
This man in his stubby little hands has tried to take the United States of America. He is trying to take it.
It seemed like he wanted to destroy it.
Yes, he wants to destroy it. And if we can't see that, we're blind. We are blind if we cannot see that this man is trying to take the United States and wants to destroy it. And the reason why I say try, because like I said, there's a higher power above him that is not going to let this man do this. But this is what he is in an attempt to do.
Trump versus the United States. That's the headline.
That is a good headline right there. That's
like, why do you hate the United States so much? It didn't give you all of the things that you thought you would get. Did it not do right by your family members or your ancestors, right? Because we have been told that your family are immigrants.
Right.
So is this like your final plea before you leave this earth is to get revenge back for what the country didn't do for you and yours, and y'all didn't get to the lengths or the heights that you thought you were supposed to get to? I can't be sure.
And I
really can't be sure why he does these.
I would hope and pray that the money that Donald Trump has in his administration and all that are involved, I would hope that they understand that that is not their money. That money belongs to God.
Mm-hmm.
And in due time, they're going to find out. In due time, they are going to find out that that money is not theirs.
For most people, they don't realize that until they're 6 feet under.
Most people feel
until they're 6 feet under, because you can't, they say you can't take a picture, but child, these people said you was alive, and then they asked people to bury them with their money and their riches. Mm. But can you use them?
That turns to ash and dirt underneath of them anyway.
I mean,
because it's not
the money that
you can't buy nothing.
The dollars and stuff, the paper it made, but the coins and stuff, they be set up. But the thing is, your bones is rotting in the grave, and half the time when you bury yourself with these money and these jewels and all these things like that, people will dig your grave open to snatch your money right from you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it because you're a skeleton.
Correct.
So you literally cannot take it with you. Like when God said that, he meant that.
And you can't buy heaven.
It don't matter if you bury yourself with it or not.
You
can't buy yourself through the pearly gates. You can't use these money and these things to get to any of the higher
it's not
places.
Money.
And if you think that earth here and living here in this world is the highest that you can possibly go, then, hey, that's just what you think. I can't justify for what they think, but I know there's higher places that you can go and you can be.
And then all you have to do is look at a paper bill of your money, and it tells you straight and clear, in God we trust.
But they don't trust in God.
No, they don't.
In themselves.
But the money.
But they want to keep those type of dollars in their pockets.
The money lets you know whose money that is. The money lets you know whose money. Just look at any bill, and that bill will tell you who that money belongs to.
Well, then there's that. But we have so many issues, and it's a lot more that we can get into, But yeah, this is a racist country. I believe that. Because it was founded off of racism. It was founded off of, individuals that thought that a certain race of people were beneath them, and they can use them for labor, and they can spread their blood all over the concrete. And, it's just another day. It's just another Monday. That's okay to do. But we are the elites. We are the ones who sit here and, these fancy homes and these fancy castles with these fancy clothes and jewels and money somewhere in a safe. And we're better than everybody else. And so that has been the foundation of the country from the very beginning, dragging people to this country that did not want to be here, snatching them from their country for their labor, snatching them from their country for their intellect, and forcing them to work for you. So a lot of these things have happened on the soil of this country. And you know what they say about when blood is shed on lands and soils, that sometimes it's haunted. It's haunted. And the spirits will come back to get their revenge, or they'll come back to right the wrongs. And so I don't know. Could this be a spiritual thing happening right now? Is this the ancestors waking up and rising up and speaking up to bring balance and justice to all of this stuff that's going on? Or is it a, blend between the two? Because I do think there's some of us that are still living and breathing and walking on this earth. They're understanding injustices in this world and in this country. And we stand up and we rise up and we fight against it as well. So maybe it's a combination of wars going on right now. That's why they say spiritual war. We got world war. We got civil war. We got a lot of wars raging. And I don't know, I think there comes a time where you got to fight back. You got to defend yourself.
Right.
You got to fight and stand up for what's right.
Exactly.
So, war was in the Bible.
And until the day I leave here, I'm going to stand up for what's right.
So it's
no matter how little my stand might be, but I'm going to keep standing for God, and I'm going to stand up for what's right till the day I leave from here.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do.
But anyway, we had the 2-hour and 32-minute mark, so we're gonna have to go ahead and end this live. We're gonna end it with a few bops today, and then we'll be back a little bit later with another one with a few more topics to cover.
I'll be back later.
But I hope y'all enjoyed the live. Mama Warrior got to join me today because my son is asleep, so we was able to sneak off together for a little bit and get on the live and get on the mic and talk to y'all for a bit. But we'll be back a little bit later with some more things to talk about. Yeah, just like we used to do back in the day.
Always did. Yeah.
Back in the day, back in the day. Yeah. So anyway, we about to go ahead and get up out of here, y'all. We'll play a few songs for y'all, and we'll talk to y'all on the next one. You got anything you want to say, Mom?
No, just God bless us all. I'm gonna tell y'all to take a chair, get yourself a bag of popcorn, and watch God tear down this corruption. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all on the next one, y'all. We out. Bye.
They drag us from the coast, middle passage madness, where we lost the most. Packed in hoes like cargo, spirits in a cage. Built a brand new nation, lived a life of rage. Yeah, we were the property, the 3/5 compromise. Picked the cotton, built the White House with our hands inside. And they watered all the poplar trees with our blood and cries. Yeah, you know what they were for beneath the southern skies. That strange fruit hanging message of their hate. A simple wrong look was enough to seal your fate. To my brown kin, they just stole it, called it manifest. Killed the Aztecs, stole the planes, put them to the west. The good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They wanna push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back, not going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. Let's talk about a word. Let's talk about a word. See how it sticks. 6 letters, COLORED, the politics. Not a person, just a label, just a shade on a chart. A legal way to tear a whole damn race apart. Colored water fountain, colored waiting room, colored entrance round the back, a social living tomb. Jim Crow was the law, man. Segregation was the tool. Taught a child to hate his own skin before he went to school. And it ain't just here, that's the global view. Apartheid, colonization, yeah, they did it there too. That word was a weapon, a boot on the neck to say you live, you die, you move at our check.
They want the good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They want to push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back.
Don't you dare say it's repeating.
It never stops.
They just got new suits, new slogans, new cops. They ban the books that tell the truth of Act 1. They call a protest riot soon as the marching's done. They tell us get over it, it wasn't us. While they build the same systems of them and us. Gerrymander the district, choke the money from the school. Praise the good old days while they fill the modern jails.
This is the warning, this is the last thing. We learned your lessons, now we understand. We are the children of the ones you couldn't break. We are the dream that you could never ever take. We are the fire you tried to douse with ice. We paid the cost, we ain't gon' pay it twice. You want us back in chains, you want us on our knees. We'd rather die right here standing on our feet. This ain't a threat, this is a promise we fulfill. We ain't ever going back. Oh, yeah. It's the spirit you taught us to say we ain't going back. We ain't going back yet. We'll fight you tooth and nail. We ain't going back.
We shall overcome. Through the fire and the rain, we still run. We shall overcome. They can't eclipse the light of the sun. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday. Right. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Just a ticking clock and a dark slip pad. But someday feels like it's slipping away. 2020's fixed and we're back in the fray. Yo, look, it's 2026 and the cycle is vicious. They're erasing the progress, making us suspicious. Rolling back the DII, cutting the light. Targeting the cities in the middle of the night. I see the ice ages moving through the Twin Cities. Another life lost, no mercy, no pity. They say merit-based, but we know the code. It's a heavy weight, it's a long dark road. They're taking King's name, but they're killing the dream. Dismantling the systems, or so it would seem. From the border to the block, the tension is rising, but the spirit of the people, man, is still enterprising. We reclaim the day, we reclaim the street. You can hear the is now. The mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison, got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mighty given the sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power, every single face.
We are human, blood and bone and soul, with the right to be made, the right to be whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song, in the eyes of the Creator.
Justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease.
This ain't just a track, it's a call to action for every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground, time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter, tell them their spirit's something to know like a shadow, tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We're gonna grow in this field. Yeah.